All right, let's go back to coronavirus. Yeah, so obviously, since this is a really interesting time, a lot of people have different theories about, where does this thing come from? Who's the main culprit? Is it animals? Is it from the market? Was it created in a lab as bioterrorism?
Well,
But yeah, there's this one theory about people blaming 5G, and I think a lot of the theories come from the idea of, putting up the towers. Maybe it's the towers of the wiring. But yeah, the new 5G system, which is affecting people's bodies, and I guess that causes this virus. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Liam?
so recently, while I was on a hike with my family, I listened to this podcast called Science Versus, and it was about 5G. And the two things it focused on is what 5G actually is and what it can do, and then actually how it affects like society and humans specifically. And I thought this thing was going to go ham on 5G, just like expose it, show how it like somehow gives people cancer. And the exact opposite is what happened. So they started talking about like this doctor who does things with birds, and like he was seeing like these birds were doing like they weren't eating properly in the lab or something, and they finally like they couldn't figure out why, and they finally like were like, oh, it must be like the wavelengths or something, and they had 5G in there. And so I was like, oh, they're gonna expose the 5G right here. And actually what the doctor found is that like the waves were actually like longer waves, like AM waves, and they weren't called like from the 5G at all. And same goes with like a lot of these other studies that they found is that the studies critiquing 5G were literally just like their math would be wrong. They wouldn't account for a lot of factors, and there hasn't really been anything to show that 5G like hurts you or gives you like cancer, like causes problems.
So you're not a believer in the 5G as the
Nah,
contributor?
not at all.
Yeah,
Interesting too.
I mean, it is interesting.
You like they were talking about this thing where people will get sick because of Wi-Fi, and um like I was like, what the heck? Like that can't really be true. And so they did tests for that, and they found that like for the people that get sick with Wi-Fi or say they get sick with 5G, is that it was just like a placebo. That the guy had like a box that would either play like 5G waves or it would play nothing, but he would say it plays 5G waves. And he found that even when he said like it was playing nothing, people would still say they're sick just because they think 5G waves are there.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's definitely that's interesting because I know some houses have a system within their wiring in which overnight it turns off the Wi-Fi, so there's no I think there's no like electromagnetic like pulses going through your house, and basically when you're sleeping, and then it turns on back during the day and restarts. And I mean, like, I don't know. Sometimes I do feel like there could be something there. And I feel like sometimes also with your phone, maybe just having your phone. I know people talk about maybe having your phone in the pocket where you're right above your heart, and how that maybe maybe leads to problems with heart conditions or something. But it's,
Definitely.
I don't know how that works, but
5G is going to be tough to implement too because with like 4G, 4G's like can travel really far and it can travel through walls and stuff. But with 5G, literally like a wall, if 5G waves like hit a wall, they just stop. So
really,
what engineers are trying to figure out is like they're gonna have to put these 5G boxes pretty much everywhere. Like in cities, they say in a few years there's gonna be like every corner there's gonna be a 5G like box. They're not big, but they'll like be pushing out the waves because the waves need to like get around to get the Wi-Fi or whatever.
jeez, how since you've looked a little bit into 5G, what have you found? What do you think is going to be the main applications of the faster quality of internet travel that is offered by
So
5G?
I think for like for individuals, it's gonna be cool. Like obviously you can download like a whole season of like Stranger Things in like 1 minute. Um, but I think it's really going to make a difference for bigger companies that have like so much data that they need to download and keep track of. And I think 5G is going to really speed that up, and it's going to make it a lot smoother. So I think it's going to help like big companies like succeed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be using that in your future company, Liam.
Yeah.
5G. I think that also when it comes to I guess not gambling. What would you say? Like betting, sports betting, for example. Like that stuff. I feel like that could be a pretty good application, just with getting really quick updates and being able to, with flexibility with decision making and having that update, all those updates happening
100%.
fast, coming to your phone. Just brings another edge to it, which also comes along with the uprise in sports betting, which we're seeing as a new market. So I think that's going to be an interesting application.
Yeah, there's just so many places. Like imagine if you brought 5G to like one of these emerging nations, like it could be life changing for a lot of people. So
Yeah, I don't know how they'd be able to sustain that. That'd be interesting though.
yeah.
It's weird. Some in a lot of developing countries, they like a lot of people have phones and they're able to use them, but then like they are struggling with other life bearing necessities like food, water, and shelter. But it's like they have a
Mhm.
phone. I'm just like, it's so funny how nowadays that's just how that kind of works. And then I don't know. I think 5G also helps a lot with autonomous driving.
Oh
And
yeah.
literally, you need that quick net speed, or else it's
And
life or death type situation.